testing. We're already live, so...
All right, cool.
Live testing.
Live testicles.
So, yeah, some of the stuff that we're going to go over, we need to talk about just kind of like what works, what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get a little bit into how the mediums are so kind of vastly different, and that's why it's difficult for them to really kind of tell the same story. Like, think about it. Every time somebody gets excited over the concept of, like, doing BioShock as a movie, it's like, but does BioShock work as a movie? Because it's really a singular experience.
Do you have a list of upcoming films that are video game films?
I do not.
Upcoming, no. I mean, it's definitely...
I'd have to pull up that website. It has, like, every listed film that's coming out for like the next 30 years.
Oh,
yeah. But I mean, it's just something to consider because when we talk about trying to translate one medium to another, one is a very interactive medium. And that's why I guess it would be cool to see the World of Rapture on the big screen. But I just don't know if adapting that story works
into a 2-hour movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it is so very
how
much
in
based...
a film can you do the would you kindly?
Right.
How?
It doesn't,
how can
it
you,
doesn't
how can
work.
how do you translate that?
Right. It really doesn't. It doesn't have a one-to-one kind of correlation. And part of what makes The Last of Us such a strong story is that you are the one going through this particular journey.
Interactivity is a big thing in
I'm
that
just
game.
modifying my fucking.
And so I think that there's a lot of that you have to consider.
That's a little bit better.
And that's
Change
why
the way I sound.
I use specifically the wording of like, why don't video game movies work?
All right.
Is really diving into what makes the medium so different and why is it so difficult to translate one to the other, essentially.
Right. Absolutely.
So.
That's a good point.
I already tested the audio.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we should be good.
Yeah, I think we're. I already put us live, so that's great. I'm gonna get me a Coos.
Yeah.
Because of reasons. I'm surprised that they haven't gotten this taken down for legal reasons. Because that is straight up My Little Pony in the fucking background.
If I were the owners of My Little Pony, I would be very happy that it broke into a whole different subculture.
Right.
And I would not discourage it.
Yeah, at this point, I figured that they're making like so much money off of it. They're like, we're not going to discourage what people are doing.
I mean, if in, I don't know, if something that we love just like suddenly like turns out a whole bunch of people over 80 are really into comic books.
Yeah.
Is like, why would you discourage that?
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, we talk about this kind of concept of, having trouble with inclusion, especially as nerds.
Yeah.
And, kind of let people enjoy things, right?
I saw a really great comic today that was a kid sitting in a theater and another kid sits next to him. He says, wait, you're watching Endgame? You used to beat me up for liking comic books. You can't just change now that they're cool. And the bully's like, fine, give me your popcorn. Kid's like, that's better.
I like that we're doing, like, society's kind of moving into it. Let people enjoy things.
Yeah.
Just I wish fucking Game of Thrones fans could do that for like 5 seconds. Jesus Christ.
No. One of the guys that I watch, because he does these like in-depth
Don't
Doom
do any
videos.
spoilers. We are live.
Yeah.
He's been doing a like 6 hours after the episode airs. He'll like do his like 12-minute recap thing.
Yeah.
And
We're about to get started.
These few episodes has been just him just bitching incessantly about how this is nothing like how the books are supposed to end. This is nothing like the characters are.
Of course it's not. Of course it's
Different
not.
medium.
Yeah. And it's not only that.
But they have to remember is like the ending of this is where George R. R. Martin says like this is basically how the book ends. Like,
no, definitely not.
they said like the people who win the throne is who wins the throne in the book. So that's what's gonna happen.
Here's the thing though, and the best example that I've seen so far is a reference to Full Metal Alchemist. I don't know if you're at all familiar with that.
That's
anime.
the one where the dog and son get turned into a.
There's no
robot or
dogs. There are
something?
two brothers. One, his body is stolen, and the other one loses an arm and a leg. And,
then a little girl or somebody turns into a dog.
no
or a
one
dog
turns into
a little girl.
Yes, there's a little girl that turns into a dog. That's like one episode.
Okay.
And it's fucking horribly disturbing. But anyway, the point is, there was a manga going on, and there was an anime based on it, and it was great. And it was great until the manga had to take a break, and the anime passed it. And the anime basically decided to finish itself. It's just like, look, we have like 2 more seasons. We're going to end. We have no more material to crib from. We're just going to go ahead and end the show.
Yeah.
And it was unsatisfying and rather uninspired because you left this team of people working off source material. Now all of a sudden they're writers. And they're writers to the level, like on the same level as the person making the story everyone loves. And they were not that.
Yeah.
So you got a whole bunch of hackneyed stuff, a whole bunch of tragedy for the sake of tragedy, and just like getting to the end as fast as they could, which is exactly what we're seeing in Game of Thrones. And then once that show ended and everyone hated the ending of it, the manga wrapped up and everyone loved that, which formed the anime Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is literally just...
So you're just waiting. You're just waiting for the Game of Thrones reboot.
Retelling the anime with the story the way it's supposed to go, so everything makes sense, and it is universally loved by all fans of the show.
All right,
I feel really bad for all the people who are upset at this last season of Game of Thrones. Because George R. R. Martin is going to die before the last book is released, and that is going to be the definitive ending.
Oh, come on.
This is the ending. I'm sorry. He ain't making it. He's got, supposed to have 2-3 more books done?
There are 2 more.
Okay, and he has one of those books.
One of them
said that he started writing 7 years ago.
Right, but we don't know what happened with the last book and how long it took him to write it. The thing is, his writing process is weird, first of all. Second of all, I don't think it's polite to, call people's deaths, no matter how funny it is.
Once you start getting up into your 70s, we have to acknowledge that you aren't going to be living too terribly much longer.
Right, but, this guy literally wakes up every day to people being like, don't die, you fat fuck, finish the book I like. And it's terrible, and we shouldn't contribute to that.
All right, let's
jump in.
I'm not going
after him. I'm just telling the fans that are doing that, quit it because he is going to die, and you're going to have to accept that the TV show ending is the ending of the books.
But it's not.
Well, we have a Game of Thrones podcast coming up in a few weeks. But it will be. But we can hold off on the talk until then.
Mm-hmm.
I am polite and also hooked on my microphone. I'm a wonderfully polite cocksucker. All right, ready to suck some cock?
Ready.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm done saying cocksucker. Okay?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Cocksucker. Okay, one last one.
The boat sinks.
Why is it so hard to adapt video games to the big screen? Adventurers, gear up for an all-new episode. Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the show. We are the Surly Nerd, your one-stop shop for geek news that might have flown under your radar over the last week. I'm your host, James, and sitting across from me is the producer of this fine show, Tony.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I was putting dog emotes in Twitch.
Good times. And back with us is our third chair host, Hector.
I'm back.
Feeling better?
It was much better.
You were very sick. You were actually sick, not Hector sick.
Yes. I was not just... I didn't go to work today, so I'm not coming in. I was under the weather.
Weirdly, all right, so whenever we mention Hector sick, I think, and Aaron all both said, is Hector coming? No, he's sick. Is he really sick or is he Hector sick?
Yeah.
Independent of each other, ask the exact same question.
2 different things.
All right, so if you're new to our show, welcome. This week's Boss Room will be discussing video game adaptations to movies. But before that, we have the Weekly Raid, which is a recap of all the nerd news that's fit to rant about for your ears. Don't forget that you can keep connected with us through thesurlynerd.com, where you can follow us on all social media platforms and even donate to the show. Every penny donated goes right back into the show that we make for you every week. Now that we've gotten all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers of all ages, it's time for The Prelude.
Prelude.
All right, this is a prelude. This is what we've been doing with ourselves this week, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, what's been occupying our free time. Hector, you were out sick this week, so I imagine you at least did something exciting.
Yeah, I actually made a list of the things so that I wouldn't forget like I always do. The least favorite thing that I did is I finished the show Titans. I've been kind of watching it in the background of my life.
The DC show?
The DC one. Fuck Batman, that one.
Oh, okay, that's the not Teen Titans, Teen Titans?
Right, it's just Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're not teenagers.
No.
Because they're all in their 30s.
Right, yeah. So what's your final verdict on it?
Final verdict is the show can't get the fuck out of its own way. The show has pretty good actors doing some pretty good acting. It has an obvious budget, an obvious stylistic choice they've gone with. Wrapped on the last episode, and it's realizing the credits are about to roll. And I'm sitting here going, this story went nowhere and did nothing. Mm-hmm. I don't know why any of this was important. There are no stakes. It is literally just kids running around. And for some reason, the last episode's about Batman. For no reason.
For no reason.
For no reason at all. So... the story doesn't make any sense. Everyone was right to pass on it.
I honestly, watching the trailer for it, I kind of got that impression. It's like, there's no story in this. It's just dumb.
It could have been about something, but it really just ended up being like a road trip kind of thing.
I think that in 1990 superhero universe, it probably would have been just fine. But now in an age where we have something like the Umbrella Academy, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, because you got this these short 11 episode season. But you didn't get a cool Umbrella Academy style cohesive story from beginning to end. It felt a lot more like. Does anyone remember the TV show about RoboCop?
Oh, it was bad.
It felt like that. It felt like a police like a superhero procedural rather than a like one story the way we get with like a Daredevil or something.
Yeah, we as a society have changed the way our television shows function, especially things that are shorter series like 11 episodes things.
Right.
We're used to something a la Umbrella Academy, something that has an overarching plot line that is woven through every single episode for that period of time. Or you get kids shows, you get DuckTales, where there's not really a plot line, but it's the same characters within the same thing. Yeah. And that's what I feel like Titans pulled through. They made DuckTales instead of making Umbrella Academy, and that's shitty. I love DuckTales, but I don't want DC superheroes to be trying to do that.
Right. On the complete reverse flip of that, I watched Lucifer. The new season aired on. I think it started like Tuesday or Wednesday, and I binged the whole thing. It was only 10 episodes, which was to the great benefit of the show. Because it took their police procedural formula and made it into more of a like complete story. There were episodes where there's still like a crime somewhere going on in the background of every episode, but the show was way more about the characters.
Yeah, previously when it was on airing TV or whatever, like NBC or whatever the fuck channel, it suffered for having to do 24 episodes.
Oh, very much.
Because all the cool stuff of dealing with Lucifer and angels and the plight of humanity shit was so spread, so very, very thin.
Yeah, because it was expensive.
Yeah, and you couldn't do an entire CGI episode. You had to do a little bit of CGI in every single episode.
Yeah.
And that made the story suffer for it. Now that it's like 10, 12 episodes, however many, I don't know.
Yeah.
I powered through that.
It was
shit.
10.
It was so good.
It was really easy to get
when
through.
it ended, I was like,
great.
where the fuck's the rest of it? Because this shit's good.
Yeah.
Like, Lucifer went from being a fun show to, like, actually a good show once it got canceled.
Way more of a character study on Satan, way less of lol smarmy European rich guy.
Right.
Like, it was very, very cool.
Interesting.
He was Euro trash.
I have two more, but the last one will be quick. I saw The Wandering Earth, which is on Netflix now. It's like the biggest movie to ever come out of China.
Yeah, we did talk about it briefly on the show when it came
made
out.
Tons and tons of money. It was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And people need to watch it. Like,
it's both subtitled and dubbed, I believe.
It
on
is,
Netflix.
yeah. You get both options. I ended up turning off my subtitles and watching it dubbed because I got tired of reading all the subtitles because what was on screen was so fucking cool. I wanted to just stare at it.
Right.
This is the most anime fucking concept in all of sci-fi. They literally just turn the Earth into a rocket ship and fly it around. That's the beginning of this story.
That seems very problematic.
Yeah, and some of the science throughout the show can be a little head scratchy, but it's fun the entire time, and it's just never stops being the most epic thing you've ever seen.
Like, gravity alone, horribly going to be fucked up the moment you try moving.
I wish I had seen it in theaters.
Yeah?
That's how cool it was.
Wow, that's
and then the last thing I did was I saw Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
I wanted to go see that.
On Friday. It was...
I wish you told me. I would have gone with you because I've been wanting to watch it. And I didn't think anybody else I knew was wanting to watch that movie.
It was good. It was funny as a, not the most loyal, but a interested fan of Pokemon growing up.
Yeah.
I'd say it did a great job of translating the universe. The movie was good. And
we're definitely going to probably bring that up in our
yeah, and as we're going to talk about later, it's the only video game connected movie to ever receive a certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
So far.
Awesome. Tony,
Neat.
what'd you do?
Well, I also watched Lucifer, as Hector did. I caught up on the few new episodes of Brockmire. It's an IFC show about a guy who he's the baseball announcer.
Okay.
And also a raging alcoholic and drug addict.
Right. This sounds right up your alley.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's Hank. I can never pronounce his last name. Azaria.
Hank Azaria. Yeah.
Azaria. Yeah. You've known him from
he's so
Simpsons
good.
fame,
Right.
but
You
know
also
him from-
many other things.
Yeah, he's in everything.
Yeah, and
he's the voice of everything else.
He created this character in like this show, and it's in its third season on IFC, relatively short seasons, and it's a wonderful show that is not for everybody. You have to definitely understand the drug addict, alcoholic mind and be in that journey along with him because it's not fun or pretty.
Right.
It's humor, but it's very dark, very dark humor. And I've been enjoying the hell out of that show. It's been great. Since we've gotten the HBO, I keep forgetting that Crashing is a show that I enjoyed because we stopped paying for HBO whenever it's not
Right.
Game of Thrones, and apparently they're on the 3rd season of Crashing. So show, it's about a comedian crashing in different people's houses, trying to start his career as a comedian.
Oh, okay.
And it's very funny. It has shitload of like up and coming comedians and a lot of established comedians in it. It's wonderfully done. So if you're fucking around on your HBOs after Game of Thrones, check it out.
I don't know, that Watchmen trailer looked interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
you
waiting
guys
for
will
that.
probably fully turn that back on once Watchmen comes out. That trailer looked awesome.
Yeah, no, I was wary going into the trailer because I know
very
it takes
much so.
place afterwards. And after watching the trailer, I was like, fuck, you've got me for probably at least 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And if it's going to be anything like how I felt about Westworld, those 3 episodes, I'm going to be like, okay, give me the fucking rest of it right now.
Yeah, I forgot Westworld's a thing that I apparently need to watch.
I need to do
Yeah,
second
Westworld
season.
is the thing you need to watch. You might just start doing it after Game of Thrones is over if you've never seen the first season.
Yeah.
First season is masterful.
Yeah.
Second season I have opinions about, but first season, work of art.
So for me, I didn't do a whole lot of new stuff this week. However, I did check out a Netflix show called Dead to Me.
Oh, I've heard of that.
So it's a dark comedy. It stars Christina Applegate, and the story is about somebody who just lost their husband. They don't show the accident or anything like that. It is just the days after the funeral and everything like that.
Okay, yeah.
And her trying to come to terms with the fact that her husband is dead. She goes to a support group, meets a person there who apparently also lost their significant other, and they begin to bond. Things start to unravel in the first episode, and you find out this person might be a little bit crazy.
Right.
Every episode so far has just been solid. It always leaves in a cliffhanger, even though it doesn't need to.
Right.
But every cliffhanger advances the story in such a way that you just can't wait to watch the next one.
And then you get the 5, 4, 3, and you're like, I'm watching another one.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
exactly what it was. It was just you're sitting there watching. I mean, Aaron and I were up. We were just binging it. Like the first 3 episodes, like we were just hooked. Like we couldn't stop it. And so it is a dark comedy, so it's not for everybody, especially considering some of the subject material they go over. But if you're into that kind of thing, yeah, Dead to Me on Netflix, definitely. The internet's raving about it right now. Like,
Yeah.
Trust the internet on this one and go out and watch it.
Awesome.
So that is everything that we have for the Prelude this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into the weekly raid.
Refill.
Yeah.
Refill.
Yeah, everybody keeps telling me Westworld's fantastic. I absolutely do want to watch it. I say this at least once a week. We consume a lot of pop culture for this show.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The CW shows alone take up 90% of my week.
I would say
they need
to drink the
they
two
need to calm their
disgusting,
tits on how long the CW
coffee
shows are
porter
going
things
on.
you left in the bottom that are literally never going to be drank.
I don't remember bringing those.
There's 2 different ones that are in the bottom drawer, and I every time I look at them,
How old are they?
They're from this winter. That's all I
Okay.
know.
Yeah,
And,
sounds like a winter meat, that sort of thing.
yeah. No, I looked at one and was like, oh, I have a lefty because it's the company makes the poncho and lefty, but it's their
it's a left hand.
It's the dark chocolate something porter, and I looked at it and went, oh no, I don't have a lefty. I have a disgusting.
All right, let's get revved up because we're going to be kicking it off crazy like.
Let's do it.
The weekly raid.
All right, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the weekly raid. This is our news roundup for the week. And to get into the news this week, we're going to have to go to the news that we talked about last week, and that was about Randy
So we're
Pitchford.
going back in time.
Going back in time.
Nice.
To apparently...
Last week we talked about Randy Pitchford, and he had a little bit of a meltdown.
A little bit. He's had multiple meltdowns in 3 days.
So he's
Who
the
remembers Aliens Colonial Marines?
CEO of Gearbox Entertainment, the group that makes Borderlands. Last week we said that he had a little bit of a meltdown because people were calling him out for having microtransactions in a game that have microtransactions and
There's no microtransactions. There's totally microtransactions.
Right, and that was the beef that we had last week. It has only escalated from there, though. The insanity that has come out of Randy Pitchford has only reached monumental heights, because before it was just him getting angry about microtransactions, but then the voice actor for Claptrap, who's not in the third game,
Right.
was kind of asked very candidly about why are you not voicing Claptrap, and he was very honest about it. He said, look, here's the deal. When I worked at Gearbox, I wasn't paid anything extra to voice that character. I was just, it's part of what you do at Gearbox. You just get to go do that.
No, he was and I can't remember if he was a lawyer or something like that.
He was
he's-
like C-level or something. He got he was getting bonuses and...
Yeah, no, his
Yeah.
job was not actually making video games.
Right.
He just had a funny voice that they also used, but
Yep.
they were like, fuck it. And I could see why at that point you're like, You don't have to pay me anything extra. I'm already getting my salary.
Right.
We just want the game to be great.
And so,
but once you don't work there anymore, that's a different story.
He came into these negotiations to do Borderlands 3. He actually said he was willing to do it for free, and I'm going to put air quotes around this. He would be willing to do Borderlands 3 for free if he was retroactively given pay for the product that he had produced in Borderlands 1 and 2.
Okay.
So it was just you already did these roles. I want to get some kind of like pay for what I'm owed.
And honestly, I mean, well, for one, he's going to come out with a lot because those games have been out for a while and they've sold a lot during that period. But also, I mean, think about it. That's a 2 for 3 deal. Yeah. That's not bad for them. Well, I don't know why they didn't go with that.
Right. And so basically, to very quickly summarize this, because there's so much news that's come out of this, and it's really just drama in the video games industry. Randy Pitchford came out and started like slandering this dude online, saying that you're like, basically he's a piece of shit. He feels that he's entitled to all of this stuff.
Right. I think he actually called out a large bonus he got as a C-level employee with the publishing company. I'd like to say, like, this guy has enough money, why would I pay him? Which is, like...
because he did a job. I forgot. You're supposed to pay people for whatever they do work.
Let's not even pretend how that makes it look for all the rest of your employees.
Yeah.
Why am I paying these guys shit?
Yeah. And so
they should be paying me to work here.
Escalates in a very Randy Pitchford manner until finally the Claptrap voice actor kind of came out and was like, look, man, I'm really not trying to start crap online, but the Randy Pitchford, he's like, I have nothing against the company itself at Gearbox. I love and I'm still friends with so many people at Gearbox, but Randy Pitchford is a bad CEO. And by the way, he physically assaulted me once. And the internet just went silent.
I think they all went, yeah, I could totally see that. I could totally see that happening.
I mean, and we keep calling what he did with the microtransactions a meltdown. It looked a lot more like a hissy fit. Like he
was super being a whiny bitch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Game Informer who published the article in the first place, and he immediately tweeted it out asking them why they would fuck him like this.
Yeah.
When all they did was be like, Randy Pitchford said this. Here are the facts. They seem not quite the same. That was the whole article. It was like 2 paragraphs.
They never once called him a liar.
No.
They never, in which he was very adamant that they said he was a liar. And we're like, literally, they're like, did you read it? Because those words were never used.
This story has so many ongoing parts that I literally have to check it right before we go to air to make sure that nothing else was added to it.
Yeah.
Because it was within...
Because there's a good chance he'll do something else.
But surprisingly, since the allegations of the physical assault has come out, he's been very radio silent about that. I'm assuming a lawyer stepped in and was like, you need to shut your fucking
I'm
mouth.
hoping someone shut him the fuck up.
Like, and the downside of this is only hurting Gearbox as a company because they're seen as this company that is making this game that everybody's excited for in Borderlands 3. And everybody's going, you know what? They have kind of a piece of shit CEO. Though.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, for a game that everyone wants so badly, including myself, it has been just nonstop controversy since it came out.
Yeah, no, there's another controversy with it. I think we need to bring up at some point about Borderlands 3. And I'm going to say this is the time we need to talk about it. The game itself is, we already said we're not happy that's going through the Epic Game Launcher and how that's insecure. But also, just to watch the streams and get rewards for it, you had to give them basically all of your information to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
And you had to link all of your social media accounts into your Twitch account, which is then into another account that they own that they will funnel everything to. And if you want these rewards in the game post its launch, you have to do all that plus more. Yeah. And the idea that they want every piece of information about you and your life and what's going on with you is BlizzCon ticket level of kind of intrusive, or not kind of, very intrusive. Because between Blizzard making their BlizzCon tickets they're super not good because the app that you install on your phone will literally take every piece of information about your life and sell it off to third-party resellers. And then Gearbox is doing this basically the exact same thing with their game. Right. It's making me not even want to purchase the game anymore. I'm like, oh, I really want to play Borderlands 3. I don't want you having access to every piece of information in my life because that's the only way I have access to play it.
Yeah.
And I get that, like, these Randy Pitchford little tantrums that he keeps throwing are in the news because he's throwing tantrums.
Right.
But maybe we should look at a bigger picture here, like, this game that everybody's excited about is about to basically steal everybody's identities.
Right. So I've already committed myself not to buying the game until it comes out on Steam. And I feel like that's from where I'm sitting, all I can do. I don't even, if the Epic Store became 100% secure tomorrow, I still don't like the way they're doing a lot of this. I feel like this is one of those cases where the game is probably going to be pretty good because it looks like everyone making the game is really into it.
They love it.
And looking to make a really quality
That's
product.
the game that I
but
want to
the
play.
way that it's being sold and marketed is so fucking shady that I just don't want to participate in any of it.
Yeah, no, at this point, I looked up
If it
what
means
you
I don't
have
get
to do,
pre-order
and you have
bonuses, fuck
to
it.
sign up for 2 different services, like with your email address and your Facebook page and your Gmail login and all of that. You have to share all of that with these 2 different websites to gain information, to get the chance to get random boxes whenever the game post launches, so you can have more of the golden keys that we're into. It's to get those, but now they have to give you have to give away all your information to even get those now. And I'm like, fuck you. Before, whenever when Gearbox had Borderlands 2 come out, they're regularly going on Twitter like, here's like 50 codes, whoever uses them gets them, and you're like, awesome, that's great, thank you. Just keep doing that. Don't take my information so you can sell it to third party companies to target me. That's incredibly invasive, and now I don't want to play your game. Like, the only way I want to play Borderlands 3 at this point is to find a downloaded copy where everybody's ripped all that out of it and gotten rid of all the DRM and said, here's the safe version that doesn't try to strangle you in your sleep.
Okay, let's move on from Randy Pitchford and everything going on over at Gearbox. There's probably going to be more information about this over the next few weeks, so just expect us to at least make a footnote in upcoming episodes about it. But in more exciting and more fun news, E3 is right around the corner.
Like right around the corner.
It's in June.
It's like the end of June, I think.
Yeah, and we are excited. Obviously, we are huge fans of E3. It's just a time for us to completely nerd out. We always do an E3 themed episode. Now, some lineups are being revealed early. We were hearing like Bethesda starting to leak out what they're going to be talking about. But there's a
Gears
company,
of 5 release date and box art came out today.
There's a game company that is called Big Ben Interactive, and I wasn't familiar with them until I started doing a little bit of research about this particular article, because they actually came out and said, all right, this is what we're presenting, just so you can come and see what we've got on stage. Now, one of these I was already excited for. I just didn't know it was them. That is The Sinking City, which is a Lovecraft game they've been working on.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a noir detective sort of thing, right?
Right. And it's all based in the Lovecraft mythos. This is all 110% up my alley. I'm super excited about it. Then they made another announcement for something they're going to be showing there that nobody had any idea that they were working on. And it's called Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood.
So
what? That's too many names.
Well, for one,
it's not. You play the pen and paper RPG.
Yeah, no, that's the correct number. Actually, it's one extra word.
Yes.
But Werewolf the Apocalypse is the same thing as Vampire the Masquerade. We're stupid excited for the new Vampire game. They are making
a Werewolf the Apocalypse
game.
Is this a shared universe?
It is.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We have LARPed with the Changeling group, the Mage group, all of them. They all
the systems, because it's all basically the exact same core system.
Okay.
They just made deviations based on,
they just don't tend to
imaginary
work
creatures
well together.
Yeah, no, the power system doesn't work cross systems because ones are incredibly powerful celestial beings, other ones are like ghosts. So that's
some people are like dog people.
Yeah,
like that's their deal.
But the fact that there is a Werewolf the Apocalypse game in the works right now that we are going to see, and they've got a tentative 2020 release date for it. Like that means we're going to get like Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse like.
We already know the vampire one's gonna be better. Just it's going to be.
Well, it definitely has.
It
certainly has more production value.
Yeah, no, but this team, I've been waiting on this the Lovecraft's Sinking City. Just because whenever I first saw it, I was like, this looks really cool. I want to play this.
Yeah, and it comes
for
out
like a weekend.
It comes out on June 27th.
This is the one that's like, I don't know if it's like third or first person, but I remember the what I had seen was like a really gray, foggy, like 1920s-esque London city sort of thing.
Yeah, but slowly sinking into the water.
Right, like really washed out visuals, almost like you're doing a Cthulhu story in what was that game? The one where you control rats. Help me out.
Oh, are you talking about Dishonored?
Dishonored.
It's a great radio, guys.
Dishonored. You control rats.
Just took a second for me to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, with Sinking City coming out on June 27th, the product that they are going to be showing at E3 is the finished version.
Right.
It's like, here it is. Here's one last promo before it gets released. And also, here's this werewolf game we've been working on. And so I'm like, my inner, my 16-year-old self's like, what? We get a Vampire the Masquerade game and a Werewolf the Apocalypse game, within a year? It's too much.
All the
it's
Christmases,
too much.
all at once.
I can't handle
for
it.
me, it's really weird because I loved the original systems they came out with, the lore and the worlds they came up with for their tabletop and live action systems, and for the first video games for the vampire, the first video games they made. They were great. But then they decided to make this new updated system, and it was so horrible that I literally stopped playing all of them for years, and it's taken them probably 12 years to now to get to the point where I'm like, okay, cool, I'm okay with playing it again.
We don't talk about 4th edition. They don't talk about 4th edition. It doesn't exist. It's not a part of the lore.
I can't remember.
It
is brought up in the documentary that I was watching.
Yes. World of Darkness, the documentary. It is on Amazon if you want to check that out.
It is. I watched it not too long ago.
Fantastic
it was great.
documentary.
Is there anything in the news, since you're talking about E3 stuff, about what Devolver did?
No.
Okay, so Devolver always is known for throwing their like anti E3 like
they do like a pre-recorded thing.
Yes, and it's
30 minutes long,
way unhinged and like usually pretty hilarious, and always just like
the presenter just keeps murdering everybody.
Giant meta commentary on the industry. Well, this year they announced it beforehand, which they've never done before, and obviously way too early. Mm-hmm. So it's like they're trying to build a hype for their anti-hype conference. There's something about this move that makes me think we're going to see something special. I just fingers crossed.
All right.
I don't know. They're one of the ones that like I look the most forward to at this point because it's just so ridiculous and over the top. They don't even really show you any games. It's more just like we are going to make fun of the gaming industry.
It's the futures.
And also like actually release a couple games along the way.
Futures.
I actually watched a GDC conference with Devolver Digital people, and they're just like that. I mean, like when they talk about how it's an industry, but it's also games, so let's have some fucking fun.
Yeah.
Like get off your high horse. Like that's exactly their personality.
Let's do a sketch where you buy DLC by throwing actual dollars at your screen.
Yeah. All right, so let's move over from E3 and talk very briefly about Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics is going to be celebrating its 80th anniversary with a comic called Marvel Comics number 1000. Now, let's get into some semantic bullshit real quick.
I don't like it.
First off, there has not been a Marvel Comics 1 through 999. They've arbitrarily chosen this number. I don't know, because maybe Superman and Batman just hit that number.
Like literally recently enough that this is kind of
it's kind of cringy and weird. What they're doing for this Marvel Comics number 1000 is they're going to have 80 stories from 80 different creative teams. And if that's not enough, get this. Every story is a page long.
So
interesting.
So I hope this is how they're announcing that now that they have Disney money, they just bought DC and Marvel Comics 1000 is a Superman Batman crossover.
So apparently Marvel Comics 1000 is going to start from 1939 and work its way to like modern times.
Okay.
So they're going to try and celebrate various stages of Marvel's history within this book. Conceptually, this all sounds really cool.
It's great.
You're telling me like
the number is just really dumb.
I'm just like, why? The only reason
number 80 would have been great.
Like just calling it Marvel Comics 1000, like you just saw what happened in DC, and you
I
just
feel like Stan Lee would have come up with a really great name for this.
Right, like just something better than Marvel Comics number 1000.
The Compendium Spectacular or something. I don't know.
Based on his naming culture for the actual superheroes and villains, I don't think it would be that good. It would be this is the comic we're releasing this year.
When you name as many things as Stan Lee did, they're not all going to be gold.
What's his power? Spiders. Spider-Man. That works.
They are going to be like getting like really famous writers and artists to be working on this. They're not like going D-list with this. They're getting people who have worked in Marvel.
If you're doing 80 stories, that's a lot.
I think I read something that like maybe Joe Hill was going to have a story somewhere in there. Like it's going to be crazy.
I mean, at this point, I mean, honestly, as from their writing standpoint, or writing teams, it's a page. That's not that much to tell a really fun, unique little quippy story.
True.
I mean, all of our favorite comic book moments are generally a page long.
Yeah,
like you can kind of surmise a story within that, and then for an artist, that is way less work than trying to draw 24 pages. So you could actually work on multiple ones. You're like, oh shit, I can do 24 of these motherfuckers. It'd be great, and you can have fun and you do new things with it. I'm all for this, except for the number 1000.
Yeah, just
number 1000 man is like so dumb.
They just call it Marvel Comics 80th or something like that. Just
Marvel, a brief history of Marvel. I don't know.
Yeah, anything other than what you're doing right now, because it's really just coming off like you're trying to rip off DC.
What do you call an 80th anniversary? Is that like the octennial or something like that? There's somewhere they could have called it the fucking octagon. I don't know. Just a lot of things would have been better.
All right, let's move on from Marvel Comics. All right, guys. would anybody here be excited if we found out that we are going to be getting a new film within the Matrix universe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I need to know more details.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
so we do know that the
Like,
Wachowskis
is it
are
going to be like a
currently-
combination Jupiter Ascending / Matrix? Because if that, no. Because the Wachowskis made that.
So
and
that
it
was my
awful.
first question. Is it still the Wachowski brothers?
It is. It is.
Okay.
It's
Well, it is still the Wachowskis. My bad, Tony.
but yeah, they are actually working on a new like in canon movie within the Matrix universe.
I'm just really glad they're not rebooting it.
Yeah, it's supposed to just kind of go with this idea of just continuing on from where it is, where we left off.
Why I'd rather have a
With
prequel
Jesus.
kind of shit.
With Jesus.
So yeah, at this we have
I'd rather go with
A
one of the
group of
prequel
people-
Jesuses that existed before Neo.
you have a group of people who wanted to stay in the Matrix, and a group of people who decided they wanted to be free, and by free they mean live in the apocalypse and drink their own pee.
Yeah,
Right.
but also still have brain holes to go into the other thing if they want.
Who would not do that? Like a week of drinking my own pee, I'd be like, plug me in.
So then I won't know that I'm drinking my own
There's a
pee.
lot of
I'll be in the
places-
jelly bath of my own pee.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Not have a
places you can
steak.
go with the Matrix universe. I mean, there's a lot of fascinating stuff.
There is.
Like that.
I mean, remember, just to prove your point, Enter the Matrix. I mean,
Oh,
there's
God.
Yeah, no, those
so much
short
that they
stories
can
were
do.
great, and they actually broke down how the Matrix got built, why the robots started to rebel in the first place, how they were able to break the laws of robotics,
Right.
And it was really interesting storytelling. I want more of that,
You know,
perhaps.
when I was watching Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix, I really was thinking about
Enter the Matrix.
Enter the Matrix.
Yeah,
I was like,
same.
man, it's that same really great artists and writers making some really great sci-fi and just yeah. So sorry, the Animatrix. No,
Is that
that's
what I
right.
keep?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
what I keep
Animatrix.
doing?
The
It was
Animatrix.
The Animatrix. Like, yeah, I was calling it something else.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Enter the Matrix.
Enter the Matrix must have been the documentary.
No, it was the bad video game.
Oh yeah,
I'm sorry.
Do y'all remember?
Internet.
Was that the
That video
was that
game
the
was
MMO
terrible.
one where they tried to make the Matrix? No, was it called the Matrix Online?
That was the Matrix.
That was the
Online.
Matrix Online.
I was actually stupidly excited for the Matrix Online when they first announced it because I thought that was a really cool idea.
It was a cool idea.
That just did not function as a video game.
No, I remember reading the early reviews, and it was there's like the headline review of early edition of the Matrix Online. You can kill people through walls, and then text, and it's like, oh no.
But yeah, the Animatrix was fantastic. And watching Love, Death, Robots, that's all I was thinking about the whole time. I was like, man, I miss the Animatrix. Like it was so good.
That was so good.
But you know, if the Wachowskis can come back and really dive into that universe, it's been long enough, right? Like you can go
Yeah,
back
Yeah,
and
been a
revisit.
yeah,
long
no, it's
fucking
been
time.
like
And there's a
it's
lot of
been
cool concepts that
20 years.
Yeah, that I've really wanted them to explore. Like I honestly bash the second Matrix film all you want. I loved the concept of like the ghosts.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, what a cool concept you could do something with. You know,
Yeah.
that it is this kind of glitch in the Matrix. That's how we get our mythology from all that.
I'm less bothered by those movies than most people, mostly because I feel like the Wachowskis were trying to do what basically Marvel finally did, is like really see all of their favorite stuff in anime and comic books and superheroes all played out on the big screen.
Yeah.
And they really did like spearhead a lot of the technology that is pretty much ubiquitous now.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so real brief, we don't need to discuss this at all, but I just want to throw this out there for Twilight Zone fans. If you've been watching the new Twilight Zone series, which is on CBS All Access, it is the Jordan Peele series, which I've only watched the first couple episodes, but I've really been enjoying.
The one from last week was awesome.
On May 30th, I believe. Yes, on May 30th, they're going to be re-releasing all of the episodes on CBS All Access in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
So
I haven't watched a
if
single one yet,
If you like
so
your
I don't
Twilight
know.
Zone old school,
Yeah.
that's how you do it.
There's one that I'd say you can skip, but I mean, you just watch it. But they've all been pretty good so far, except for one that I found a little trite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
I
we
just I don't I love the Twilight Zone. I just
You're missing out. It's classic
it's gonna
Twilight
need
Zone.
to convince me. Like, I just
You just
don't know
gotta try
what.
it then.
I mean, is it like butt stuff? Do I just have to try it, see if I like it?
Pretty much.
All right.
Just, you know,
I'll go knuckle deep.
give it a minute. Try it twice, because you
Okay.
don't know if you did
Just
it
go
right
two
the
knuckle
first
deep,
time.
Well,
or like
and so-
No, two separate occasions.
two separate.
You don't know if you did
okay.
it right the first time.
Okay.
To put some perspective on this,
Spit or lube?
we have this thing where not
You can
every
try both. You're doing it
we have
twice.
original stories and then reimaginings of old stories.
Yes.
Okay.
So you kind of want to watch a few of them to get a feel for if you like the reimaginings better.
But
like the original.
But much like the original, I can watch it whatever order I want, right?
Yes, they're not connected in any way.
Okay, good.
I would actually, if I could like sit someone down and be like, "This is the new Twilight Zone," I'd show them last week's episode. It was incredible.
That was the one that you would say, "This is what should sell you on it."
Yes, because I'm not sure if it's an old episode because I don't know the entire library.
There's a lot of it.
I know that it just such a fucking cool premise to start off as, and it still manages to like keep within the constraints of its own story, even though the story is much bigger than itself. It's super, super cool.
That's what Jordan Peele does well, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so our last bit of news for the week is several bullet points that we should go over, and that is Sony's PS4 State of Play. So this is their Nintendo Direct-ish thing.
It is their second one.
Yep.
It went way better than the first one.
Way better. It's a 10 to 15 minute kind of broadcast. So I'm going to start at the top and work our way down, and we can kind of discuss what we saw. So Monster Hunter World Iceborne got an announced
Yeah,
date.
that's the big expansion, right?
The big expansion.
Yeah, don't call it a DLC.
Yeah, it is definitely not. But this is the big expansion. It looked really cool.
It did look cool.
I
love the new icy versions of the monsters and the new ones.
Yeah, like your cat can resurrect you.
Yeah.
That was cool. As a Monster Hunter fan, it just really warms my heart to see so many people latching onto the series because it's something that I did love for so long. But I was like the weird dude because I played Monster Hunter on my PSP for like 500 hours and I just thought it was the greatest thing.
Yeah, no, everybody thought you were a crazy person because for one, you're playing a PSP.
Yes.
And then secondly, you're playing Monster
Look,
Hunter.
my Vita loves me, all right? Just saying.
I think I ended up with
so bad.
250 hours in Monster Hunter World. And I think I read last week that Monster Hunter World is Capcom's best-selling game of all time.
Yes, it definitely it has surpassed a lot of numbers that they didn't expect.
A lot of Resident Evils is
a
what it's
lot of
surpassed.
Resident Evils, and like a Devil May Cry in there somewhere.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. The expansion looks like more of what we were already getting.
Yeah,
so
I didn't notice it in the trailer, but I wasn't keeping a sharp eye. I would love a new weapon type.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
They haven't said anything about it.
They didn't show everything. They showed some new monsters and like outfits and stuff. That was about it.
Let's see here. Predator Hunting Grounds. It was a game that was announced. I'm not really super into this genre of game, but it looks interesting. So the concept...
It's asymmetric multiplayer, right?
Right. So yeah, one person plays a Predator, then you have a squad of Marines, and it's they've got a lot of games out, like Evolve was one of them.
Evolve was one of those, which they tried to resurrect.
Yeah,
Poor
so
Evolve.
I mean, there's a lot of different games like that.
I have all of it for free because Xbox is like just here. Everybody gets all the content, every DLC for free.
I saw the trailer for this new Predator game, and the only thing that I thought when I saw it is, why is it so hard for us to just get another fucking decent Aliens versus Predator game?
Because people don't. I don't know, man. Same reason it was. I mean, why was it so hard for? I mean, Aliens, Colonial Marines to be good?
No. I think there's a problem wherein right now because the arena-style shooters are not the hot thing.
True.
We're not getting anything like that because it was an arena-style shooter. It was, one person would play an alien or a predator, drop it in with the Marines.
Like, you still had asymmetric multiplayer classes, but you could they were all
right. But you could
fighting.
have 10 predators or 10 aliens, but they were so well balanced that it wasn't a big deal when
the aliens even
the
had
map
cool
design
mechanics.
was so wonderful because I liked playing as an alien, and that was the.
They
run and hide on the wall,
Yeah.
stand in the dark, wait for somebody to come by, and then death from above them.
But that was the best because you had predators and you had Marines, and then you had the guy just spawning as a head crab, finding something to eat, and then becoming whatever type of alien gets eaten from either a Marine or a predator, and it was always different. So, those
I loved playing
awesome.
aliens. That was so much fun. Okay, the first part when you spawn in is as as you said, the head crab,
the face hugger.
The face hugger.
It's a face hugger.
It's a head crab in Half-Life. That's my bad.
Yeah.
I'm not good with words today. But, yeah, those games were great. I think I would much rather be the face hugger than the little thing after the face hugger, the little ankle biter.
Yeah.
The chest burster.
Yeah, the chest burster.
Yeah, and basically all you can do is be on the ground and wait and maybe bite something in the ankles.
Yeah. So it looks interesting. I might be willing to check it out, but I'm not going to be like a day one purchase on that one.
No.
They showed off a new PS4 model that's going to be a limited edition called the Days of Play PS4.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it's very pretty. I don't know why you would buy a PlayStation 4 right now when we know PlayStation 5 comes out next year.
Honestly, I kind of like it because it's just desaturated black.
It is really pretty, and you know what? If
but I don't need
for any
one
reason
whatsoever.
needed a new PlayStation 4, if mine was on fire when I got home, I might get that one.
Sure.
I might wait for a PlayStation.
Yeah, honestly,
5.
at this point, you're like, okay, we're gonna get the announcements pretty much at this E3, knowing when the next one's coming out. So just
my big
waiting
wish
is
list
fine.
item for the PlayStation 5 is that it plays PlayStation 4 games, which we already know it does.
Right.
But it plays them better. So it's a good reason to go back through your PlayStation 4 library. And I have a good friend who didn't want to buy any consoles this generation, and there's a lot of PlayStation 4 games he would have loved. So if he decided to get a PlayStation 5, he has a whole back catalog.
So you kind of want them to do what Microsoft's been doing with the original Xbox and the 360 titles, which is enhancing them, increasing the frame rate, increasing the graphics on them,
Well,
and, almost bringing them up to a modern title in some cases.
They might not have to do all of that. If they could just eliminate load times and where possible increase the frame rate, that's all I'd want.
Yeah.
Because it's just better.
Unfortunately,
hardware,
the frame
game runs
rate
better.
is based on the game engine and the game design, and is tied way too heavily to mechanics.
Well,
so
yes
increasing
and no.
frame rate.
A lot of those games, at least the PlayStation exclusives, usually have an up-res mode, and some of them have a higher frame rate mode for the PlayStation 4 Pro.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not impossible.
In certain cases, yes, but a lot of third-party games, especially first-person shooters, frame rate is tied to bullet mechanics and damage, and once you increase the frame rate past what the system is locked at, it massively fucks up the entire system. I know this because multiple games I've played have had this issue for a while now, and it's been very funny watching people on PC do massive more damage because of the unlocked frame rate.
Yeah.
Oh, look, this gun does a billion more damage, and everyone else that's locked at 30 goes, this gun sucks.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Other things that were announced at the PlayStation State of Play. Medieval is getting its release on October 25th.
Okay, that Medieval game looks great.
Okay, so I played the original.
Yeah,
This looks like I think it's
I
just
played it too.
I think it's a remake of the original.
Pretty much,
And
yeah.
I am so excited about
It looks
this.
really good. I love that they completely. It's not like a complete reimagining. The design is still the same, but all of the character models for the enemies were given so much love.
Yeah.
They're all articulated and so cool.
It's like somebody took the original Medieval and said, you know what we could do is we could totally just bring this into the modern age and totally Tim Burton this up.
Yeah.
And just it's just gorgeous. And
it
the
is
concept's very simple. It's in the same vein as your Spyros or any Crash Bandicoots. It's just you have Sir Daniel Fortescue, who's a skeleton who's been resurrected and he's trying to save the world.
Yeah, and he's got a stupid little jaw face.
I'm super okay with just add more polygons and some new, better texture and basically release the same game. I'm happy.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. They did show a new game called Away. It's a very fascinating title.
Away, one word, or away, two words?
It's
Away. One word.
One word? Okay. Well, they're two different things.
Yeah, they are. They're very different things.
And it's this weird survival game. Like the clips that they were showing of it, you're like an animal in the jungle, look like very Sugar Glider-esque, and you're trying to survive.
The one where you're a sugar glider. That looked weirdly very interesting to me.
Yeah, it almost seemed like a journey or something along those lines.
A lot like a journey, yeah.
Yeah, where it's just going to be kind of this very abstract concept and really
open areas.
Yeah, at one point you were riding a bird, even though you were a sugar glider. There was a lot going on.
Yeah,
birds can obviously go further.
It's a lot to unpack in that one. It was very fascinating, and I'm hoping they show a little bit more of that so I can understand how the mechanics of the game itself work.
Yeah.
They showed this game, 4-player co-op game called River Bond. And this game on its own merits, you just be like, it looks like a Diablo style kind of run around dungeon crawler, maybe more Gauntlet-esque kind of game. Looks fun, right? Great couch co-op game. But the big announcement for this game was that they're adding characters from Shovel Knight, Bastion.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Psychonauts was one of them.
Yeah. Psychonauts, they had not just Bastion, but all the Super Giant Games
Guacamelee.
characters. Yeah, Guacamelee was in there.
So basically, this is Diablo Smash Bros.
Yeah, it was very voxely. It was obviously a dungeon crawler and almost kind of like a bullet hell at times. It looked like in the vein of your Enter the Gungeon.
It reminded me a lot of Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Like the old Gauntlet.
Yeah, Gauntlet.
But with
a really
Super
good
Smash
example.
because characters from everything showing up together.
Right.
Yeah, but you could take your little voxel character. It looks like the Minecraft version of an 8-bit character.
Yeah.
And it could be like the knight from Shovel Knight or the kid from Bastion. You could dress him up all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
Okay,
it looks like fun. Something that I would get drunk and couch co-op with.
Oh,
people.
for real.
So I guess now that takes us to the final thing that we should probably talk about, and that is
It's a little game. I don't know if you've heard
little
of it.
game. I don't know if anybody here's heard of it. It's called Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's a game that's still happening.
I heard they remade it.
I heard they were doing a remake of it.
Honestly, after watching the video for Final Fantasy VII, That is not Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
That is the best thing I can say about it,
Let's
actually.
throw this out there right now for all of you that are getting excited about this. This game is not Final Fantasy VII.
Well, that's the thing. Like, when you go back and, like, the people who wanted a Final Fantasy VII remake probably didn't want one by the time Final Fantasy IX came out. It was never going to be the same game.
Right.
But now what we have looks like Final Fantasy 15 the 7.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what I'm more okay with.
And
It's like, okay,
I kind of
it looks like better combat. It looks like a better universe.
Yeah.
It looks like a better story.
I kind of really want it because it looked like a lot of fun. For what I did see, from what I know, based on how fast this remake is going, they maybe have shown us all of the game they've gotten through so far.
Right.
Yeah,
So what
there's a good chance.
What we do know about it is that it's going to be episodic.
Yeah.
They
That's right. Yeah. It doesn't release all at once.
Right. So think about when you say the word episodic for a game, you think about something like a Telltale. This is a very condensed story, something that you're not going to be going around and wandering the world of Final Fantasy VII for 20 hours.
Right.
You're not going to be breeding chocobos. You're not going to be...
You're gonna be wandering from this location to go talk to this one dude, to then go through 3 battles, to go back to talk to this other dude, to go through 3 battles to talk to this other guy, and then have to go back to the first guy to then get the reward for killing the first battle. That it's a fucking
And then you're in a
complicated
temple
bullshit.
And there's something about a god.
And none of it made any sense. It was annoying.
Chat's even saying, like, I don't care if it's just Final Fantasy 15 with a paint job. That's fantastic.
Well, think about how much they learned from Final Fantasy 15 and how much they didn't exactly get right. If you can take the formula and story from Final Fantasy 7 and inject it into, like, how much fun that gameplay was, I think you've got something there.
Well, and one of the things you have to consider when we talk about this, and look, man, I get it as a Final Fantasy fan. Look, I'm speaking to you guys on a personal level. I'm a person who dropped hundreds of hours into Final Fantasy 7 when it first came out. All right? I mean, I was obsessed with that game. But in retrospect, when you go and look at it, that story was not good.
No, it's insane. It's a Final Fantasy story.
No, but like a lot
There's
of
never been a coherent one.
Like,
all those I'm sorry, Final Fantasy fans. Your stories are really awful and not very good.
There's
at
a
all.
lot of them.
The only stories that are worse are the Kingdom Hearts stories.
And that's because they have Final Fantasy characters in them. The Disney part of them makes complete sense. As soon as you add the Final Fantasy characters, you're like, well, this is just dumb now.
No.
So, I mean, I think about this, Final Fantasy VII fans. They've put out movies and several other expansion games trying to just clean the story of this game up. Maybe by doing a episodic version of this, we can tell a cohesive story that doesn't require you to go through an entire encyclopedia to try and explain.
Part of me is hoping that this comes out in episodes, and by the time we get a final episode, we do have a complete game with an open world. That would be really neat. It would also be cool if they just did short, contained stories that you played through for maybe a couple hours and then waited for the next one.
Yeah.
I don't know. The most cohesive story Final Fantasy has ever told was The Spirits Within. Think about that for a second. That's messed up. That's really messed up. But you understood that story beginning to end.
See, I feel like Crisis Core actually had a very coherent story, but it was a PSP game that very few people played.
Because it was a PSP game and no one owns a PSP.
It's like the only Final Fantasy VII game that made any sense, really. So, I mean, there's a lot going for it. But like I said, there's been so many Final Fantasy VII games out there, and I keep going back to this discussion. A lot of people say, like, oh, I want a one-for-one new version of Final Fantasy VII.
No, you don't.
No, you want to play Final Fantasy VII.
But do you?
There's a PS1.
And some scenes may be for you. Like, some scenes may not be for you. Some people don't want to see the hot tub scene in Final Fantasy VII rendered in like live action.
Yeah,
I don't want that kind of detail. Honestly,
I don't want it not.
I'm saying you may want to see it, but not everybody's going to want to see it. But there's so much of Final Fantasy VII that relied on the technology at the time. It was very goofy because it got to be. Right, you had pixel characters, and so they got to do goofy and over-exaggerated things.
Yeah,
because it was a culmination of 2 different technologies. You had this new open 3D thing that they could do,
right?
And then we're like, but our story was entirely written as not that and designed as not that, and they had to cram these 2 different things together. And why people like that, I don't know. Stylistically, the game is 2 different fucking games.
It is.
It looks like shit because it has no cohesive art design.
Well, that's just the least of its problems. And I say this again as somebody who loves Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah, very much so.
So
I played the game
so
over
many
and
things
over. It has a lot of flaws.
Right.
The list of things wrong with that game is massively larger than things that are good about it. I'm sorry, fans of Final Fantasy VII.
Tony, you don't get to talk because you're not a person who invested the time into Final Fantasy VII.
Here's the thing
you get to be arbitrarily angry about it. I, as somebody who's wasted hundreds of hours of my life, get to genuinely be angry about it. So you're saying
your anger gets to surpass mine because I was smarter than you went, that's just fucking stupid.
What you don't understand is that James earned his anger.
Right.
So here's the thing.
How do you say I couldn't? Because I didn't earn mine, because it took me less time to realize it's fucking stupid. It took him hundreds. It just shows that he's dumber than me.
Tony, here's the thing, though. What you're failing to understand is that for people our age, this is the first video game that ever made us cry. Mm-hmm. And that's not like a small number of people. Yeah. That is most of the people my age who played video games.
It's a game that, and I know that I've told this story on the show before. It was a game that up until Final Fantasy VII, I was a kid that got picked on for like playing RPG games.
Yeah.
It was the first time that I came into high school and like was looking through like a strategy guide or something based around Final Fantasy VII, and like a jock walked up to me and was like, "Dude, I fucking love that game. Let's talk about it." And I was like, "What the fuck just happened here?
What is going on?"
Like, it broke down barriers.
Is not the correct world.
No, you're absolutely right. I remember people who didn't play video games buying a PlayStation to play this game. That's how popular it was.
My first paycheck I ever made, I went and bought a used PlayStation and a used copy of Final Fantasy VII.
Hell yeah!
Like that was it for me. Like I didn't. My mom was like, "You really just wasted your whole paycheck?" I'm like, "I'll see you in like 2 weeks when I'm done with it." Like,
are you kidding? When was the last time you bought something with a paycheck that lasted you 2 weeks?
Like, this is hundreds of hours of my life that I'm going to be investing in this thing.
Yep.
But I feel like the problem with the remake of Final Fantasy VII is it's never going to live up to what people's expectations are. And that's something that we, as fans of the game, need to come to terms with before this comes out. Because there are going to be a lot of people that are excited about it just because it's a remake. It's a remake of one of their favorite games. But nobody's coming to terms with the fact that this is not going to be the same game that you played.
That's actually the reason why I'm excited for playing it, especially because it's episodic in nature, because it's not the same game. It's more closely tied to where the company of Square Enix has gone in modern times. Right. It's a modern title with modern ideas, with modern gameplay.
With more zippers.
Yeah.
Okay, more belts.
Fuck off with the fucking belts. All right, sorry. I'm sorry. It's one of the stupidest goddamn design choices they've made in any of their fucking games. Fucking belts and zippers and everything's fucking stupid, and you're wrong for liking them.
Anime fashion is an acquired taste.
It really is.
Eventually, you get used to it, and it's like a fine wine.
Says Tony, who loves
belt
Kingdom
across
Hearts.
the neck.
I like. All right, so actually, chat brought up. It's like, you got Kingdom Hearts 3. You can shut up. And I'm like, actually, no. I refuse to play Kingdom Hearts 3 at this point. I don't fucking care. That world died for me years ago. The fact that they released Kingdom Hearts 3, that's cool and all. I just can't give a flying fuck about it. I literally cannot care anymore.
He's gotten so jaded in his old age. Yeah. I'm like, Kingdom Hearts 3, I'll get around to it once I finish 1 and 2 again.
Oh.
Hey, I'm working on it right now.
He's been playing 1 and 2.
The Witcher 2. You're still slow rolling The Witcher 2. You gotta get.
You need to let him have more hours at work so he can play it there.
I do. I gave him Friday off.
That's very true.
You don't have Friday off anymore. Now you have to finish Witcher 2.
Fuck that bullshit. It's my birthday weekend. I do what I want.
That's true.
So yeah, I'm excited for the remake of Final Fantasy VII. I just want people's expectations to be in the right place when it comes out, because I think they're expecting it to be a little bit more than it's going to be.
Yeah, or maybe just something completely different than they're going to get, right? And I think for me, if it comes out and it looks like I want to play it, I'm going to start ignoring everything about it, because the last thing I want is for it to become a fucking Game of Thrones episode where I see it the first day, enjoy it, and then have to listen to people bitch about it endlessly for like the next week.
That's I'm actually excited for the remake of 7. Yeah. I do want to play it. I enjoyed 15. What I did play of that, it was a fun game experience.
Yeah.
Once they updated to modern combat systems, modern graphics, modern storytelling, I was like, oh, these games aren't complete shit.
That opening still gets me.
Yeah, no, that opening's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. What I played, I didn't finish it, but what I played of it, I had the greatest time with. It was a great game.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm hoping I get from 7. I don't want the 7 of the past because I hated it. I hated everything about it. Yeah. I don't want that. I want you to tell me a similar, close enough story, but not the same thing.
They had a really great way in 15 of using their engine to make the moment land. Mm-hmm. And I really hope they do the same with the story beats in 7. Because in 15, you could watch the actors play off of each other to a certain extent. Yeah. And getting to see that out of Cloud and Barrett and Tifa and everyone, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Especially because I already know the story beat, and it's more like I don't know, like if they can,
They have a way to make you feel closer to the characters.
if
now.
they can suck the nostalgia out of the scene while still making it modern, like there's a magic there that if they hit, it's just going to be beautiful.
Absolutely. All right, that is everything that we have for the weekly raid this week. We're going to take a small break, and when we come back, we'll be going into our main topic for the show. That is the boss room.
Oh
That's so weird. Hi. Also,
Hi, everybody.
yeah, no. Where was the thing? Fuck, Lime Custard. You're amazing because you gave a subscription to,
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was
Thanks,
really
man.
cool. So,
That's awesome.
cheers for doing that.
Appreciate it.
I tried putting it in the chat thing when I'm typing
Oh,
and
is that what the
talking.
little
the same thing.
icons were?
Yeah, there was a thing that was over here.
fun.
It doesn't show up in this chat. It only showed up in this chat.
Okay, that
because
makes sense.
I don't know. Chats are fucking dumb. Hi,
yeah.
Days. Hello. How are you?
We're doing good.
We're
We just
doing
got,
all right.
just got done talking
We're
about
learning
the
how to use our tools still.
we just got done talking about the Final Fantasy VII remake, and now we're going to get really sassy talking about video game movies.
Yep.
I want us to be analytical about this. I don't want us to go in slinging mud. I want us to talk about what works, what doesn't, and what can really be done going forward to hopefully make good adaptations. So think about this critically.
And try not to diverge into the video game adaptations of movies because those are horrible.
Yeah, that doesn't.
That's actually that's a topic that we
whole
have.
different show.
We have that saved for another week, actually. So yeah, video game movies. That's what we're going to be talking about. Again, chat. Feel free to chime in. We'll read off your thoughts.
We all got our fresh drinks now.
Yep, we're good to go.
I just saved the show, so that's good. I need to throw that. Oh, I didn't finish this beer. I should finish this beer first. We're waiting until I finish this beer.
Oh, good job. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember all like the really good video game.
Okay, finish that
movies.
beer.
Okay, there's like two. There's an easy one to miss, but I just Googled movies based on video games, and oh my god. This
I tried
bad,
watching that.
guys.
You know, I didn't think about it, but I didn't have Hitman in there because Hitman was actually pretty good.
Which one?
The first one?
There's been like 3.
Well, there was Timothy Olyphant Hitman,
That one.
and then
Yeah.
there was Hitman Agent 47.
No, it was Timothy Olyphant's Hitman was good. All right, let's do it.
There's the Prince of Persia movie. That was a thing.
That's not a thing.
There was an Angry
there,
Birds
there
movie.
was a Prince of Persia movie, motherfucker. There was definitely a thing that
I
happened.
know it did happen.
There, much like there's an Assassin's Creed movie.
Yeah, it's true.
Everybody forgets that's a fucking thing that happened too.
Yeah, we
All right.
all try to forget these movies for a reason.
I tried watching it and this was going, no, I hate this.
Don't
I
forget
already
about
hate
Warcraft.
Assassin's
Oh,
Creed.
Warcraft's at the top of
From
my
a
list.
director
That's
that
one
I
of the good
fucking
ones.
amazingly love. Fucking David Bowie's son made fucking Moon, which is amazing, and then made World of Warcraft.
Blue Bull's
World
probably
of
going to come
Warcraft
up.
was fucking awesome, and if
War-
you don't like
World
it,
of
you
War-
weren't a
the
fan
Warcraft,
of Warcraft.
the Warcraft movie was not for me because I'm a fan of Warcraft.
No, well, if you're a fan of Warcraft, there's no movie that could have been more Warcraft than that
See,
movie.
for me, I don't know. There was too many. It was too much.
It was
World of
literally
War-
just a breakdown of the history of
What
Warcraft.
Tony wanted was
I don't
to
know
watch.
what you wanted.
No, Tony wanted a Warcraft movie where you watch a peon bang against the side of a farm for 15 minutes.
You got
Okay.
excellent actors, world-breaking CG, and like an actual, to much the detriment of its sales numbers, just a retelling of the history of orcs invading planet Earth.
Yeah.
And like to just buy the fucking numbers. And it was awesome if you already knew the story and loved Warcraft to see it rendered that way. And for everyone else, it was like, the fuck am I watching? It's like Game of Thrones, but there are big green people.
All right,
And I have zero context for who these people are.
Yeah.
let's jump into this.
That's the reason why I didn't like it, because it didn't give you that context. It would add stuff from World of Warcraft. I was like, I don't know what this is
There were
because
like 50
I don't know
characters
that.
to introduce.
Yeah, it was too much for one movie. If you're gonna do a fucking Warcraft
It
movie,
really did feel like
Lord
a
of the Rings
movie.
that motherfucker and make it in 6 parts.
No.
It felt like a movie for Warcraft fans, not.
Yeah, 100%.
In a video game movie, and we'll need to get into this, a video game movie needs to be accessible to the general audience.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so keep accessibility in the back of your head when we talk about this topic.
Just don't bring up Blood Rain. Why'd you do that?
We have to talk about
No,
it.
we don't.
All right, so
Just leave it alone in the past where it belongs. This is boss fight.
Boss room.
Boss room. Boss room.
hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the Boss Room. This is our main topic for the podcast, sometimes related to the news, sometimes not. This week, we're going to be taking a break from all the big news items out there and having those big news discussions. And we want to get into a topic a little bit more near and dear to all of our hearts, and that is video game movie adaptations. Now, despite the movies that we love, it is a pretty well-known fact that most games that get made into movies just don't work. So this week, let's try and save Hollywood millions of dollars and tell them what they need to do to make good video game movies.
It's a really easy list. Don't. Just don't.
Okay, so let's kick off this discussion here. We've seen adaptations that work, right?
Yeah.
We can call them passable. People would say Silent Hill, right?
Silent Hill.
Yeah,
for sure.
the first Silent Hill.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Let's please say the only Silent Hill.
Right.
There is another
I
one.
know, but we don't.
You know,
have to talk
I
about
would
it.
even go so far as to say Mortal Kombat manages to pull it off. Mortal
Kombat managed to do Mortal Kombat. I want to say, and this might be kind of shitty of me, but I feel like they nailed it on accident because the movie was really fucking cheesy, but the game's kind of cheesy also.
Right.
So I don't feel like that was on purpose.
Right, and even the first Resident Evil.
Yeah, no, it worked. It weirdly,
I
it
feel like
works,
the movie
and
was
it still
cheesy on
holds up.
accident.
It honestly,
It
the,
really
the
does
first one,
hold
the
up.
first Mortal Kombat holds up. The second one, where you're
Oh.
traveling through balls through the center of the planet.
Oh, yeah, no,
that made no
the
fucking
rest of them were
sense.
stupid because the story in Mortal Kombat is stupid.
So
You say that the story of Mortal Kombat's fucking awesome. It's just very nonsensical and stupid.
It's like,
it's
hey,
very
let's
stupid.
fight. Also,
When you look
there's
at
this
who
portal
your
to
list
Demon
of
Realm
heroes are,
where
you've
we'll
got
fight.
this action hero TV star guy who's been retired because he's awful at his job.
He has
a cop,
stuntmen.
another cop that's half robot because of reasons. I don't know, some gods from random planets that make no sense whatsoever.
Also,
a dude with like 9 arms. 'cause,
Also, a dude who's just Native American.
See,
That's
Mortal
his
Kombat-
fighting power.
Mortal Kombat managed to take a nonsensical story and make it into at least a very enjoyable hour-and-a-half movie.
Yeah.
It's not nonsensical. There was no story. It's just it makes no sense on the surface. Mortal Kombat makes zero
But
sense.
even Resident Evil, the first one specifically is what I'm citing here, is considered one of the best kind of
the
adaptations.
first Resident Evil is the best of the Resident Evils, which is
So-
kind of saying something.
So
'cause
of these,
they're kind of all suck.
of these examples that we're providing here, why do those movies seem to work?
I think my best explanation is that we already have movies about those things. You have a formula to draw on when you're making a zombie movie. You have
Yeah,
a
an action
formula-
zombie movie. You're like, oh, okay, guns, cops. There you go. Oh, it needs to be set where? A place called Raccoon City with a fucking umbrella thingy. Yeah, just throw that in the background. It's already written. This thing's already
Right.
done. It's a formula already.
Silent Hill, we have a lot of horror movies. This, in my opinion,
Creepy
happened to
town
be-
that turns weird. Yeah.
happened to be a very good horror movie because they took all their horror sensibilities and made that.
Right.
And that was cool. And if there was no Silent
Well,
Hill
you-
video game, Silent Hill the movie would still be pretty fucking cool.
Oh no, it'd be a great. It's by itself as a great film.
Well, I mean, you take the Silent Hill and you look at the history of the making of it. You had a writer who was obsessed,
Yeah.
who made the director watch him play the video games between
Literally
like,
every
takes.
every day.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
Alone in the
there's-
Dark didn't work because movies about Cthulhu don't work either.
Very few. There's a
I
few of them
want
that are
There
fun.
are a few, but for the most part.
I want
Like,
to come back
Reanimator's
around
fucking amazing.
to this topic quite a bit. This subject we're going to be touching on quite a bit as we discuss this, and that's accessibility. The movies of Silent Hill, Mortal Kombat, and Resident Evil all presented a very easily accessible universe that we could be understood by the audience. In the case of Silent Hill, you had questions afterwards, but that's the beauty of Silent Hill. You always have questions. You have things you want
Yeah.
to discuss with your friends after you see
Yeah.
it. But they were all accessible universes. It didn't rely on a bunch of the audience to know what it is.
Yeah,
right?
that's a really big point. You could watch Resident Evil and be like, zombie movie, I'm in.
Yeah.
Got it. Don't need to
Yeah,
know
it
about
gave you the briefest explanations of the universe.
wanna tell me about the
Here's
virus?
a corporation that made a virus that made zombies.
Yeah.
These people are soldiers to go kill the zombies. You're
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. There's the fucking plot line. And that works as a film. It's very simple. You just add all your action scenes in there and a bunch of fucking gory explosions, and you're making money at that point.
So I can tell you exactly by this example, Mortal Kombat works because we've had, funnily enough, ironically, because where I'm going with this, we've had Jean-Claude Van Damme making movies about dudes fighting each other for years.
yeah.
And Mortal Kombat works because it's just a Kumite movie. It's just King of the Kickboxers or Kickboxer 3 or
Yeah,
any of the other
exactly.
Kickboxers. That's what Mortal Kombat is. Street
It's just
Fighter.
fun fighting, but now some people have extra armor and shit.
Street Fighter, on the other hand, did not work, even though it had Jean-Claude Van Damme and was about dudes fighting each other. Because the movie Street Fighter tried to be like 5 different things. It tried to be like a military movie where they invade something, and like an evil supervillain M. Bison who's trying to take over the world thing through a really obtuse fucking monetary scheme,
Right.
like banking scheme.
Wait. So you mean like Star Wars?
Yeah, and also there's a giant green guy who shoots electricity. Like, that movie was never going to work because they tried to take the game too literally instead of trying to make a movie like they already knew how to. They tried to put the story of the game into a movie.
Right.
They failed terribly.
See, that's one of the things where there's a video game movie that I absolutely love because it said, yeah, fuck it, we're not even going to play the game, we're just going to call it that, and we're going to go with it. Super Mario Brothers, the movie.
Hold on, we are 5 minutes into the discussion. Okay, I had a list in my head of how long it was going to take him to bring that up.
I can't believe we got to Street Fighter before Super Mario Brothers.
Right.
I absolutely love this Super Mario Brothers movie because of how campy and bad and ridiculous it is.
I feel like the Super Mario Brothers movie would be, like, all the way up there in, like, the Goonies realm if Super Mario Brothers as a franchise video game didn't exist. Because it'd be a weird, eclectic, like,
just nonsensical story for kids.
That maybe more like the Purple People Eater, like one of those.
I love that movie too.
One of those weird little puppet movies that you're like, okay, this was a good ride.
Yeah.
But because we were expecting Super Mario Brothers, and because they tried to make Super Mario Brothers the story, the movie, but also plumbers and pipes,
and alternate dimensions,
and why is that a Goomba, and that's not Yoshi, and then we're out the door.
So good.
Okay,
it was so good
because you're pleasing nobody.
Yeah.
You're not pleasing
That's
people
why I
trying
loved
to
it.
see a movie.
It took the premise of Super Mario and said, "Fuck that shit," and let's do this instead.
Right, but everybody that was making that movie was drunk. That's a well-known fact. They were drunk the entire time.
They were drunk or fucked up. Like that's how that movie existed. Which to me is like the greatest monument to filmmaking. When you can have everybody basically working at 30% and make that, and it's wonderful.
That is the philosophy that Tony's lived his life by at this point.
I have a really bad joke to make about Raul Julia because of Thinking Key's comment, but I'm not going to.
That's probably a good
idea. The
idea.
story about the joke is he said that the end of Street Fighter wouldn't work because his armor in the movie could resurrect him, like shock his heart, it could defibrillate him. But Raul Julia died not making the movie, but shortly after it was released, recently enough that the movie ended with a rest in peace for him.
Yeah, it just really sucks that Raul Julia's final film was that
Street Fighter.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's an amazing actor. That's the last, and he did it because his kids were like, "We like this video game." He's like, "Fuck it, I'll do it."
Yeah.
So when Hollywood goes to adapt a video game property, do we think that they're going into it trying to make a very a quality film, or is it they're trying or are they trying to just bank on the success of the name of the game?
Well, I mean, we all know that U-Bowl exists, and all he did was make shitty movies based on properties that we loved, so that they would fail, and that he kind of ruined video game movies probably for decades without even knowing it by failing so often that when you look this up, when you look at statistics for movies based on video games, you get a history of him failing.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where every so often I'll hear of a property like Silent Hill where you read the interviews and you tell the people that are working on it really do genuinely love the property that they're working on. But there's also instances where you talk about something like the Super Mario Brothers movie and you're like, they really were trying to just bank off the name, get money out of it.
I mean, honestly, nobody had made a video game movie before. Nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew how.
No, it's entirely.
This is before video games really had a story. The story for Super Mario is the princess is another castle controlled by this weird lizard turtle guy, and there's some mushroom people. You hop. The story of Mario makes no fucking sense. Right. Trying to turn that into any cohesive world, any story, film.
I think Saturday morning Super Mario Brothers television show would say otherwise.
Yeah, well, there's which one? There's two of them, and there's one that's decent and one that's fucking nonsensically bad. It's worse than the movie, okay? And then that one was like based on the second game, which again makes no fucking sense because the second game is like nothing to do with the world at all. It's Mario is dumb. I'm sorry. It's stupid. It makes no sense.
He says, as I love the Super Mario.
I love the movie because of how fucking nonsensical it is.
Was that the cartoon that had like the real life
Mario in it?
Introduction ones by Discount Ron Jeremy?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember that.
So, I mean, I feel like there are some people that go into making a video game adaptation into a movie, and they do it with care and love. But I think a lot of the time,
it's few and far between.
It's few and far between. A lot of it's just banking on the name and the popularity of the game itself, hoping that they'll be bringing in the money.
Let's take a couple of the modern ones have come out recently.
Yeah.
We've got the Assassin's Creed movie that happened.
Yeah.
Most people we just kind of culturally forgot about it, but if only we could do that with the video games as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, stop with the Assassin's Creed. No one fucking cares.
Well, I mean,
they're awful.
They would stop making them if nobody bought them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. It's the I don't understand those people, so
Right.
I don't think the thing needs to be around.
I think it's almost better to, like, just I can rattle off like so many of these. Yeah, we mentioned Assassin's Creed, the Angry Birds movie, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, The Prince of Persia, Agent 47, Ratchet and Clank. Come on,
Ratchet and Clank had a movie.
yes, Doom, Max Payne, for Christ's sake.
Okay,
There was
see,
a Dio.
there was the
wait,
Doom
wait,
movie.
I'm making a point.
Okay.
Blood Rain, Jesus, House of the Dead. There was DOA. Final Fantasy ones barely count. I don't want to count.
There's a long FMV
but
anyway.
Pixels exists. We all remember Pixels. Postal. I mean, I'm naming as many bad ones as we can because we all, whenever we hear these names and remember the movies, it's fucking cringy. Now, I can name all of the good ones on one hand.
And
see,
you
that's
you
the
had
reason-
Doom on that list, but Doom did something that no film had ever done prior to that, which is have a first-person scene where you had
That's cool and all, but I dare you to go back and watch that movie and say that scene redeems the movie.
That scene was
seems-
really fun. And then when you get
terrible.
like, what was it, Hardcore Henry came out, which was entirely shot in first person.
Yeah.
If we hadn't had Doom do that 25 years beforehand, you wouldn't have had that really cool action movie.
I feel like with the advent of VR, we probably would have had that.
It would have
movie.
happened eventually.
It would have, but they did it
I get-
25 years before that.
Right, and I get what you're saying, and no one's saying these movies are entirely without value, but they are certainly not fun to watch. And the whole point was that they don't work. And I think we're trying to get at like why these movies work. And
Sure, and so Joe in Twitch chat brings up an excellent point, something that I wanted to talk about, and is really my next discussion point for the panel, and that is one of the things that I think that rarely gets brought up when we talk about video game adaptations is how important the player is to the video game.
I mean, we have a whole movie about it. It's called Ready Player One.
Right, but when we discuss these things, we say, well, why don't video games translate well to the big screen? Well, that's because in a lot of instances, and I bring this example up often, is we keep hearing about that Hollywood wants to make a BioShock movie. And as somebody whose entire apartment is littered in BioShock art,
I've literally got like 7
I'm
Bioshocks
surrounded
around
by
me
it
right now.
like, I would love to see Rapture on a big screen. However, I don't think that a BioShock movie
Think about that
works.
panoramic whenever you're going down with like the sub or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah.
and you're seeing the sunken, like basically this underground sunken city.
Yeah, pretty much like Sigby
and
in 3D
giant
IMAX
fucking whales.
with,
And
like,
it would be amazing. It'd be a beautiful shot.
Yeah,
It would
Sigby
be.
like in 3D IMAX or VR with something strapped up to my junk so I
Yeah.
can like immerse myself in it. That'd
Hell
be
yeah.
great.
Just
But
3D
but
something,
BioShock,
I don't want your
as-
dick milker in my movie, okay? Fuck off.
But as a movie, it doesn't work because the premise of BioShock is so deeply ingrained in being a first-person shooter.
Well, the thing about BioShock is when you're talking about telling the story of BioShock, the most important part, personally for me, of BioShock was not knowing what was going on until I knew what was going on. But that was going on for 10 hours.
Yeah.
You can't do that in a movie. If you get to the hour and a half mark and nobody knows what's going on and like revelations are still slowly coming, people will check the fuck out.
Okay, so BioShock doesn't work for a much simpler premise in my mind. It is a game about telling the player that they are playing a game.
Sure.
That the entirety of the storyline is meant to fuck with you when you get to the realization that everything is preordained, that nothing you do matters, that's the system that you're locked into. You can't tell that type of story in a filmmaking environment because you don't have choice when you're watching a film. You are not given the option of like, I mean, yeah, there's always that like, we have those interactive Netflix shows now.
We're
but,
a long
you
way
know,
from the in-theater Bandersnatch. Like,
yeah,
a long way.
We're a really long way from being at like, I'm going to go to Alamo Drafthouse and press A, and we're going to all communally decide
Now-
where the story
Now
plays
that being
out.
said, I mean BioShock Infinite I feel like works as a movie because
Yeah.
you have a protagonist in Booker that makes sense. You're watching but the thing is that when I was playing BioShock Infinite, I felt like I was playing Booker's story. When I was playing BioShock, I felt like I was playing my story.
Exactly.
Right, and that's the difference.
And when it comes to video games, it's about immersion of self into character. And that's why great video game storytelling happens. Whenever you feel like you are part of that character, where that character is part of you, you are making these choices based on this universe that is presented in front of you. Films don't do that. They give you a world and you see it through someone else's eyes. This is the reason why in television shows and films you have the everyman character, so you can follow along the generic person to explore the world around you.
Right,
you
but
don't get the chance to explore it yourself.
But I feel like when we talk about the immersion of playing a video game and why that doesn't seem to translate well to the big screen, I'll use an example that I feel works a little bit better. The Last of Us. People really want a Last of Us movie,
and that would work.
And
I
could see it working. But also part of The Last of Us, and the reason that its story is so emotionally impactful, is that you're the one guiding Ellie through all of this stuff. Right, it's this. You get to become this father, and I'm not saying that it can't be translated.
It can, because
that can totally translate
first.
because of the new Lara Croft. The new Lara Croft, it takes that similar example. You are guiding her through these scenarios on this island, trying to survive, and making a bow and arrow and doing all that.
And
that works in the video game, and the new Tomb Raider film worked very well because it just took the premise of that, and that's why something like Last of Us would work, because you are not character immersed into that being. You are not playing that one for one. You're going to feel her story being played out in front of you, because that game is cinematic in of itself. That game is designed to be told as a film story and not as you are the character story. Right. That's the two different deviations within storytelling in video games.
And maybe that's the difference. Maybe, because what would really, really work as a fucking BioShock movie is the Return to Rapture, the DLC for BioShock Infinite. And not because you would be like first person in this character and it's a better story, but because how many cool stories could we get out of living in Rapture and then watching it fall? I would watch
that.
I would watch
story
3
you could
seasons of that TV show.
I'd be like, put that shit on HBO.
I would be all
that for BioShock.
over that.
You totally could tell, but you can't tell the original BioShock story. It doesn't work.
You would be committing to something that would not go well.
Right. So when we think about all these concepts, I mean, there's a lot of things that we're really exploring here. But do we think that really adapting video games to movies is an impossible task?
No, and no. Like we said, there's a couple ways to do it.
When I say impossible task, I'm thinking not like, let's get as good as a Silent Hill. I mean, as good as we're going to see an Oscar come out someday for a video game adaptation.
Right, and we have two different, and that's the problem with video game movies, is you have two different ways you can go. I've mentioned, and we were talking about it before we started the segment, just with Twitch, the World of Warcraft movie, and how much I love that movie, because it is a movie about Warcraft from start to finish, which alienates everyone who's not into Warcraft. So it basically makes the movie for
the accessibility
small group of people.
Is a huge problem.
Yes, it's an incredibly inaccessible movie. I would have, if I was going to bring someone in who wasn't familiar with Warcraft, I would probably have to spend 20 minutes explaining who everyone is before I started the movie. Yep. Like so you can go that far and really please.
Yeah, I don't need flashcards to look at while I'm watching the movie. Like,
exactly.
Which one's this guy with blonde hair and armor? Oh no, it's not that guy with blonde hair and armor. It's this other guy with blonde hair and armor.
So you can really get into and try and please fans of these games and the kind of fans that are just rabid for these games, or you can make a story based out of a world you really enjoyed that actually works on the screen, because we all know not every story works on the screen.
Yeah.
For me, it's the types of video game adaptations that will work are small human stories. And I mean, it can be. I mean, by small, I mean very simple to understand human tales. The overcoming adversity. You got your generic tropes that you learn in fucking beginning writing school.
Yeah.
That kind of shit. Those stories will work. And yes, they can be about crazy fantastical lands, but you can't have a story where you can't have within a film. You can't have the choice. That's what I'm trying to say. Adding choice from the video game world, where you have a branching story with all these different endings, it makes for a cinematic experience, but the story I get is the story you're going to get, and it's not going to work.
Right now is that Mass Effect would never work as a movie.
No, it wouldn't. No, it honestly, it would not, because
I would love a story in the Mass Effect universe. I don't want to know
in
what
the
Captain
universe,
Shepard's doing
but
in my movie.
with Shepard and all of that crap, no, because that is a personal tale told on your specific storyline with your RPG stuff, and it led in multiple different endings. There's the Heavy Rain, one of my favorite games of all time, tells a cinematic story, but that story that was told is my story.
Right.
My ending is how I played that game. Right. And if my story was put on film, it would be fucking great. But you played it differently, so you're not going to be happy. Right. That makes everybody who got a different story not happy with the way the film works, because you can't make everybody happy, especially with something that has 37 fucking different endings.
Yep. Right. I feel like you could take like a Deus Ex, even though it's a first-person shooter, and really...
No, because that's an established world, and you can tell a simple human story within that established world.
Yeah.
Right. And now, so let's not forget that like one of the major onuses for this conversation was Detective Pikachu coming out.
Right.
And while it came out,
it's based on the game Detective Pikachu.
It's based on the game Detective Pikachu, and I never played that game. I don't know anyone who did. It was a small niche Game Boy game.
Yeah, it was an offshoot of an offshoot.
Right, but what they did is they capitalized on the Pokemon brand by not making the movie about being about the game. They made the movie about being about Pokemon and about being about the world. And they were very, very restrained with a lot of what they did because it is a detective story. There's not a whole bunch of big scenes where Pokemon fight each other.
Right.
That's not the point of the movie. This isn't an arena battle game. This is a movie with an interesting story in it that you get. But the world is just fucking filled with these crazy creatures with insane magic powers. And everyone just kind of lives like that. And it's pretty amazing. The movie comes off really good because it doesn't try to be the video game.
You know, I was interested in Detective Pikachu because it was given to me as a detective story. That it's for one, get to hear Pikachu's thoughts as Ryan Reynolds is fucking hilarious to me. Like, yes, that's great.
So funny. He was nonstop funny.
Like, that sounds wonderful to me. But getting to explore the Pokemon world, because I did like Pokemon 2000. That was a fun movie. Like the animated Pokemon movies, I've watched like 3 or 4 of them at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there was many years ago. I never watched the cartoon really because I just couldn't get into it. If my nieces and nephews had it on, I'm like, okay, I'll watch Pokemon with you. But I did play a few of the games and enjoyed those. And when I saw this, it's like, you know what? This might get me into it. But then we do have to eventually talk about the Sonics. We have to talk about the CGI that was the Pokemon, and it looked great, and it looked like this really fun, cool world. And I said all these great things.
The CGI Pokemon looked great.
And then we got the trailer for the Sonic movie, and me and the internet and everybody in the world kind of went, no.
That was the most tone-deaf fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like,
I haven't watched the trailer because I'm just afraid to.
If someone put,
just don't.
Imagine seeing the trailer for Iron Man and like his suit is green and like Tony Stark is blonde and for some reason it takes place
played by Channing Tatum.
Yeah, and it takes place in LA for some reason and like
it did take place in LA.
What?
Yeah.
No,
not the first one, but the other Iron Mans do take place in LA.
They were in Miami.
One of them takes place in LA because he's in fucking California. Maybe it was 3.
Look,
whatever. Either way,
quibbling aside, point is that's what the Sonic trailer was like.
Yeah.
Everything was wrong. Everything was wrong.
We could have gone like Romania, and he's in Romania.
You know
that
what?
makes sense. He's fucking Tony Stark of Romania. Makes no fucking sense at all. Why any of this story would make any sense? There we go.
The soundtrack for the trailer was wrong. The only thing that, if everything else was fine, would have been okay was Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, and even that was just off enough that everything else being off made it look terrible.
Right.
I'm still like, okay, I'm really happy that Jim Carrey is Dr. Robotnik because I think he can pull it off, but I'm still going like, okay, but Danny DeVito is still an actor and was perfect for that fucking role. He's fucking Dr. Robotnik. He looks like him, he talks like him, he can fucking act like him. He's fucking Dr. Robotnik, and it would have been amazing. I get Jim Carrey's awesome. Why didn't you hire the correct person? Like, why? Why did you do this?
I think
Why did you not make Sonic look like Sonic at all?
And
like,
the thing about Sonic the Hedgehog
and then weird human teeth. Oh, just
is we have years of old cartoons based on Sonic the Hedgehog to draw from.
Sorry, Chow was proving that I was correct that it was Malibu, California.
We'll put a notch on the board for you. We have cartoons, cool cartoons about Sonic the Hedgehog, and some not so cool, and a whole bunch of video games to draw from. We have a lot of inspiration for what Sonic looks like.
Right.
A lot. Moving, still, in CG, even some examples of really, really good CG that might work in live action. None of them look like what the fuck we saw. We saw what looked like a weird-shaped midget in a teddy bear costume.
Okay, so let's break this down real quick.
What happened?
What made something like Detective Pikachu work, and then you saw the trailer for Sonic and said that's not going to work?
Because Pikachu looked like Pikachu in the trailer. He didn't look like a...
the Uncanny Valley didn't happen there.
Yeah, but you can't just narrow it down to just the way it looks, because when we talk about the Silent Hill movies, Pyramid Head's in both movies, and he looks like Pyramid Head in both movies, but one of those movies is bad.
Well, one of them he's actually Pyramid Head, and the other one is not. It makes no sense.
So one was an interesting story where we saw a trailer about a kid who can for some reason speak in fluid English to a Pikachu and has a mystery that he has to solve about his missing / dead father, right? And in the other one, we got Gangster's Paradise over the top of something that looks like it was amalgamated by someone who'd never seen Sonic to look like Sonic, running really fast for what we had no idea why.
So I feel like one of the things that we keep...
It was aimless.
One of the things we keep dancing around when we talk about this is reverence for the source material, specifically is what...
Right.
Where we're dancing around this.
We are going back to one of our, like, less than 100 episodes. This is like our early numbers. We were breaking down Addams Family and why we loved it so much.
Right.
And that's the argument we have to bring up again, because we got a new Addams Family trailer that came out recently. I'm super on board with it because it pays homage to the original comics and tells that story. It just looks different. I love the Addams Family movies because they were so... They cared about the original source content, but they made it their own. Detective Pikachu, they cared about the original source content, but they made it their own and also had a really high budget. Sonic looks to have no budget, not care about the source material, and... Honestly, why didn't they just go the way of Super Mario Brothers and say, cool idea, let's not use any of it, and he's not even a hedgehog anymore, let's do something else. That would have been more entertaining for me, honestly.
Sonic looks like an incredibly expensive movie. Jim Carrey is not fucking cheap. The CG looked fine, except for Sonic. There was a lot of weird little robots jumping out of cars. It looked like pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, then the car made the other car show up. I was like, that's some Transformers level good shit.
You know what I don't know off the top of my head, and we're talking about source material, and it's good to adhere to the source material in certain ways, but we've already talked about how when it comes to story, we don't want a retelling of the video game story, because that never works. So the thing about the Sonic trailer that was so different from the Detective Pikachu trailer is I watched the Sonic trailer, noticed what I was displeased with, but right now I cannot tell you the plot of that movie, except Sonic the Hedgehog and Dr. Robotnik. That's all I know about that movie. And there's a scene where he runs really fast and there are missiles. Like, that's all I know about the movie.
They made the ring noise for something, I can't remember why.
I don't know what Sonic's doing. I don't know why there are people everywhere and why he's not surrounded by foxes and echidnas and like one human who just enslaves animals. None of this makes sense to me.
Right. Yeah, I think that a lot of this, again, kind of goes back to our earlier discussion where we talk about accessibility. Detective Pikachu is a story that really was accessible to a grand audience, even if you didn't know what Pokemon were, because it told a very simple, concise story.
It actually kind of just occurred to me while we were discussing this. From our understanding of the Sonic movie is the same reason why the Super Mario Brothers movie doesn't work, why most movies work. It's trying to put that world into ours.
It's trying to ground
that reality into our reality. Detective Pikachu says, fuck that. It's its own reality. This is the thing. This is the world. We're going to explain this world to you. And then you have things like Super Mario Brothers the movie, or from what we can tell from the Sonic movie, and the fucking your stupid dragon, you're fighting dinosaurs game, Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter. Whenever it was the premise of Monster Hunter,
we all forgot too.
Because they said it's going to take place in our reality. Our reality has something to do with it, and you go like, so you're immediately going, the video game means nothing because you need to put it here with us.
You need a soldier with a gun.
If Masters of the Universe taught me anything, don't try to bring our fucking reality.
Stop trying to mix realities. And when you mix realities, you start fucking things up. Let the world stand on its own. And in some cases, like the Warcraft movie, it doesn't work.
Sure.
Because you're telling too much of a grand story.
Warcraft was a movie for fans, not for...
And what was your word about World of Warcraft? It was really accessibility.
Yeah.
And this is where we find a lot of our movies cutting themselves off at the knees. Is they sacrifice anything that the fans love about the thing that you're trying to make them watch by trying to make it accessible to everyone else. Some movies do that very creatively. Silent Hill's a good example of that. Some completely blow it and just try and shove the movie into our world, and that's how you get your Super Mario Brothers.
You know, like the Assassin's Creed. I was a fan of the original Assassin's Creed games when they had the original trilogy or whatever.
Assassin's Creed fits perfectly into our world. That movie was bad on its own.
Because I liked the games because the future aspect. I liked the idea of telling the story through time travel and going back and experiencing the past and going for this technological future item that's like alien in origin. That was cool.
As soon as they dropped that plotline from the games, I quit playing.
I stopped playing the games because they got rid of that plot. The movie had none of that in there whatsoever and didn't make any sense. So fuck that movie. It literally took out the one thing that I enjoyed out of the entire game universe that subsequent the games got rid of too. So fuck them. They're awful. Stop liking bad things.
All right, so we have a lot to unpack here. It's really hard to nail down what really makes a great video game adaptation, but we have talked about things like accessibility. We've talked about things like a love and reverence for the source material.
Yeah.
These are definitely things that are the big factors, and basically not trying to just make a buck off of the name of the game, which is one of the biggest problems that Hollywood has when it comes to video game adaptations. So I want to end this on kind of a positive note, and I want to know from the panel here, can you name one game that you think that could be adapted well into a movie?
Oh, I'm really going to hate myself for saying this because it's going to be coming out in the next year or so, but Halo. The Halo universe can tell an amazingly well done story. I think that...
I'm watching a really great Halo series right now called The Expanse.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that's the thing.
Basically,
as long as we learn from those types of stories, and you take the world that Microsoft and Bungie have created over this period of time, it's not a complex story. It's a very human story about basically alien invaders.
But Halo's a TV series. I want to think about like what can you do in a 2-hour movie or a 2.5-hour movie?
2-hour movie.
What can you do? So my pick was actually one for Tony, and even though I haven't played the game, I feel kind of rude bringing it up. Okay. I feel like Psychonauts could be
actually done. That's my next
Psychonauts. Would be awesome. I'd want it to be an animated movie, though.
Yeah,
I was thinking like Pixar.
Just CGI. I want like Pixar somebody to do that.
Exactly.
I would like some really high-end CGI to do it because weirdly, they're low poly characters
we keep
with
saying
very
Pixar, but we really mean Sony Studios, right? Because of Into the Spider-Verse.
No, actually, for Psychonauts, no. I don't want them to do that. Or at least not that stylization. Not for that story.
Not for that stylization.
But they are really good for what they've put out there. But I do want that type of animation CGI that comes from the games to be just represented because the stylization of the characters is so unique that I wouldn't want that to be lost. From like, oh, cool. So you get me new Haley Joel Osment with this kid as Raz, and I won't give a shit because he's a human. He needs to look fucking weird and have his eyes misshapen and his head those weird squares.
The animation style of the game lends so much to its personality.
You would lose so much of the heart of the story or the characters, the heart of the arts. Gone. It would make the story bad. But I would love to see that, and I think it would work as a film. You're not going to go into everybody's mind, but you could show the mind sequences and how you gain all those things, or gain information. You can show the cool powers. You can show the summer camp thing. It'd be a great kids 13-year-old film, like PG-13 kind of era. It would be wonderful, and I think it could be very well done. Is it going to happen? No. That will Double Fine does not have that kind of pull. And
no. I'm just saying. What game do you think could be adapted well into a movie?
And you did kind of take my next answer after Halo because Halo is coming out as a series. My next one is Psychonauts.
What do you think you could do?
My best answer right now, because I mean, if it was done correctly and they had like fucking Avatar money, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Is a really interesting story with a really incredible juxtaposition and a really cool mystery that you follow throughout the entire thing. I could see that mystery, even though the game is everything else, but this overarching thing that you're chasing being the focus of an actual movie plot. And even if you don't use the same characters, it's a really cool world to live in.
Yeah.
And tracking that down and figuring out what happened, I think would be a lot of fun.
All right, so quick fire round, unlimited budget. In this whatever game you pick, it's automatically going to be good. It has an unlimited budget, but you get to pick one game.
Budget doesn't dictate goodness.
One game that you would love to see made into a great movie or film franchise.
I mean, you know my answer.
But you're already getting Witcher.
I still want it. I want it more.
No, I mean, if you're giving me unlimited budget, unlimited resources to make Halo, fuck yes. Even though we're both getting the things that we want. Hector and I are actually going wait, we're actually getting the universe that we want.
Well, James says Persona. Hang on.
No, I'm actually going to say the Legacy of Kain series.
Ooh, that's a good
See, what, you want it as a film or as a series? Because I was thinking if I had unlimited budget, honestly, God of War, not the new one, but the original God of War trilogy, plus the other PSP games, because they kind of fit in there, would be a really cool ongoing film series or TV series. I think that would be
that's a good choice.
Fun to play in.
That's good. Bloodborne.
Oh God,
Bloodborne would also work in.
Unlimited budget.
Bloodborne. I would want that. I want 9 seasons of Bloodborne.
Which is going to be funny because you could actually write all of the dialogue on 9 pages.
That's very true. Hey, there's a lot of lore there, man.
There's a lot of lore. There's not a lot of dialogue.
Those NPCs have a lot of
They
speaking
talk
lines.
a lot, and then there's like that orgy that's going on in one of the houses at one point. Like, there's a whole thing there.
A lot of voice acting.
We've talked a lot about
One
video
line.
game to movie adaptations, and I know this is a complex issue that it's going to take a while for Hollywood to get a grasp of because it's really hard to pin down what really makes a great video game adaptation. I feel like we've had some great positive aspects that we've talked about, some negative aspects, some food for thought. But if you have any opinions about this, if you want to tell us what makes a great video game adaptation or makes a bad one, let us know. Tony, how can they find us?
Patreon.com/thesilly-nerd, where we need to put shit up there. We say this every week, so I'm about to stop saying this one because, we're not using it. But if you want to subscribe to us, there's different levels. We'll start adding more content, and it just helps you donate to the show. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
There's a donate button on our Twitch page, twitch.tv/silly-nerd. We're live 7:30 Central Mondays. About that time, about on Mondays, sometimes other days, depending on stuff.
We might not start the show right away, but 7:30.
7:30,
Yeah,
we're already live-ish. We've got go ahead and give us a follow on there. You can give us a subscribe, all that jazz. If you would like to tweet us or see when we're going live, it's facebook.com or at the Surly Nerd. Facebook.com/thesurlynerd or at the Surly Nerd. You'll get the notifications of when we're doing shit, live streamings and stuff like that. Info@thesurlynerd.com is our email address. Website's the Surly Nerd. Read some shit, you fucking bitch. I'm done.
All right,
good.
I'm done.
That's everything we have for the show this week. Our topic this week was video game adaptations into movies. I hope you enjoyed our subject. Until next week, for Trendus James.
For James, this is Tony.
And I'm Hector.
Adventures, good night.
And good game.
Nice.
Limbo's a good choice, but I feel like it's very abstract as a concept.
Like, I was thinking...
I feel like I'd
do
get
it.
really tired of
I would
watching
do
a
it.
Limbo, like, 2D black and white thing.
I think I would be into it, but
I
I'm
almost
You know
thought
what
Bastion...
you know what I'd take over Limbo is Inside.
inside. Okay.
It's the same concept for a game, but in my opinion, way more interesting. That game held all my attention from beginning to end.
I think in the right timeline, Bastion could be really cool.
Bastion could be cool.
See, that's the thing is, I was Bastion was one that I was
Transistor would be
thinking,
better.
I haven't played Transistor yet.
You should
but I don't
really
think
I own it. I just haven't
I
played
don't
it.
think
so good.
Bastion works because it's so much tied to character choice on
Inside,
the narration.
Yeah, that's true.
That having that narrated to you based on outside context doesn't function as
Good point.
your enjoyment of it. Like, I immediately was like, Bastion, no, that's actually a game entirely based on character choice. You can't have films have character choice. It's not how storytelling works in a film. But one of the things that, like, I didn't get into in there during our discussion was video games are still kind of in their infancy, and the combination of film is further along in its progression. Video games are catching up to it very quickly. But merging two technologies together, we've done before, but is super in its infancy on how we're telling these stories. So we're discovering as a species how we're supposed to do this. It's not going to be... I mean, honestly, go back and read a book from 700 years ago. It don't read good.
Right. Yeah, I mean, try reading the Bible. It reads
It
like
makes
shit.
no sense.
They don't know what metaphors are.
No, we're not a political podcast. We're not doing them podcasts. We can say whatever the fuck we want now.
Yeah, I think the thing about movies is we're just about, all CGI aside, we're just about at the end of what we can do with movies. We can film shit that's there, and now we can put shit on the screen that isn't there. I don't know where we
You can
go
literally
from there.
imagine something and spend enough time and money and literally show the thing that you imagine.
It beautifully fully formed as if the actor was actually interacting with it. It's amazing.
I mean,
Video
fucking look
games-
at Groot. It's a fucking tree walking around.
Thing about video games is every once in a while that the entire genre just erupts and all of a sudden we have Pokemon Go. And
Yeah.
no one was playing video games like that at all a few years ago, and now half the world is
some
doing
of
it.
some of us were already playing that.
Yeah,
before.
the other one by Niantic, I
Yeah.
know. But my point is, like, it went from, like, I don't
9
know,
o'clock?
25 people to, like, 100 million.
9 o'clock after. It's after 9 after.
Yeah, 50
She came over smiling. She's like,
Oh, he's like, I know
My
the
bad.
podcast is over. Y'all
My
said
bad.
your thing.
You said the words. I know what happens when you say the words.
I know those words.
If you
Those
say
are
good game.
those are the
it's like
food
good
words.
food. She's like, breakfast was so many hours ago, Dad. All right, I'll just leave that on. I'm going to sign us out.
That sounds good. Thanks,
guys. It was nice. Thanks for the chats. I'll see y'all next week.